Have you ever found yourself haunted by the memory of someone long gone? Not physically present in your life, not even in contact, yet somehow always there, embedded in your thoughts like a shadow you can't shake off? Maybe the conversations have long ended. The messages dried up. You deleted their number more times than you care to admit. You threw yourself into your work, surrounded yourself with friends, tried to laugh louder, live fuller, but they still show up, quietly, persistently, when the night is still, when you're laughing just a bit too hard, when you're finally starting to feel okay. And it frustrates you, doesn't it? You don't want them in your head anymore. You wish you could flip a switch and be free. But no matter how much time passes, there they are again. Like a ghost you never invited, clinging to your thoughts when you least expect it. Let me stop you right here and offer you a truth that may surprise you. You're not broken. You're not weak. And you're certainly not the only one fighting this silent battle. There is a deeper reason why this person keeps surfacing in your mind. It's not just about love or nostalgia. It's about the unspoken pieces of you that still linger with them. The unanswered questions, the emotional wounds, the memories that never had a clear ending. This isn't only about them, it's about you, your attachment, your pain, your healing that hasn't yet been completed. Your soul is calling for closure, for understanding, for release. You see, when someone continues to live in your mind long after they've left your life, it's not always about missing them. Sometimes it's your mind trying to teach you something. Sometimes their presence, even in memory, was meant to awaken something in you. Maybe they showed up to expose a wound you hadn't acknowledged. Maybe they stirred an insecurity you needed to confront. Maybe their role was never meant to be lifelong, just long enough to trigger a transformation within you. And that's where the beauty begins. Because you have the power to take back control of your thoughts. You have the power to unravel the emotions that seem to tie you to them like invisible strings. This isn't about forcing yourself to forget. It's about finally listening to what your heart has been trying to say. You're not stuck in your memories because you're still in love. You're stuck because something within you was left unresolved. And your mind, being the diligent servant it is, keeps returning to the scene of the wound, hoping for resolution. But you won't find it there. Not in the replayed conversations, not in the what-ifs, and not in the imaginary reunions you keep playing in your head. You'll find it in yourself, in understanding, in self-compassion, in facing the pain you've been avoiding and choosing to heal it on your own terms. Picture this. You're going about your day, working, running errands, laughing with friends, and suddenly, there they are again. Their voice, their smile, the way they made you feel. Out of nowhere, a memory, flash, and your whole mood shifts. It's like you've been ambushed by your own mind, dragged back into a space you thought you'd left behind. Why does that happen? Why does someone who isn't part of your life anymore still feel so present in your emotional world? Because they marked you, not just with love or heartbreak, but with energy. Emotional energy that you exchanged with them during your most vulnerable moments. When you connected with someone deeply, when you shared laughter, tears, dreams, fears, that energy didn't just disappear. It lingered. It embedded itself in the corners of your subconscious. And that's what you're feeling. It's not always them. It's what they represented. Maybe they made you feel understood, or seen, or finally enough. Or maybe they broke you in a way no one else ever did. Either way, the impact was real. And your mind, your soul, doesn't easily forget such imprints. But here's something powerful. You don't have to run from these thoughts. In fact, running only gives them more power. You face them. You sit with them. You ask yourself, what did they really awaken in me? What is my mind trying to process through their memory? Because once you begin to unravel the emotional thread connecting you to them, you begin to reclaim your energy. You begin to understand that healing isn't about erasing someone. It's about integrating the experience and choosing to no longer let it define you. And here's another truth many never talk about. Sometimes the person you can't stop thinking about isn't who they really were. It's who you believed they were. It's the story you wrote about them in your heart, the potential you saw, the dream you built. And letting go of that story, that imagined future, can hurt more than letting go of the person themselves. But that, too, is part of the healing. You don't just mourn the presence of someone. You mourn the version of yourself that existed when you believed in them. You grieve the hope, the innocence, the belief that maybe, just maybe, this time it would last. But it didn't. And that's okay, because their leaving isn't the end of your story. It might be the very beginning, the beginning of a more awakened, more grounded, more self-loving version of you. The one who no longer chases ghosts but chooses peace. The one who doesn't need validation from someone else to feel worthy. The one who knows that even in the ache of letting go, there is freedom. So breathe. Feel it all, the longing, the sadness, the confusion. Let it rise. Let it pass. Because every time you do, you take one more step away from the prison of your past and one more step toward the life waiting for you. The life where you are no longer held hostage by memories, where your thoughts are no longer ruled by someone who is no longer part of your journey. The life where you are whole not because someone stayed, but because you finally did. You've already begun that journey just by being here, just by listening, just by allowing these words to meet you where you are. This moment is not the end. It's the opening, the invitation to go deeper, to understand yourself more fully, to heal not from the outside in, but from the inside out. There's something uniquely painful about the silent moments when their name echoes in your mind without warning. You could be immersed in your day, surrounded by people, consumed by tasks, and yet, just one trigger, one flash of memory, one subtle scent or familiar phrase, and suddenly you're spiraling into thoughts of someone who hasn't been a part of your life for a long time. It feels involuntary, almost like your heart betrays you every time it resurrects their image. But here's what you need to understand. When someone keeps showing up in your mind, it's not always because of love. Often, it's because of the emotional imprint they left behind, a residue of shared energy that your mind is still trying to understand or release. And in those moments when it feels like you're losing control, what's really happening is that your inner world is begging to be acknowledged. Not the memory of them, but the emotion they awakened in you. Sometimes they symbolize something far deeper than the person themselves. It might be the first time you felt truly seen or heard. It might be the moment you believed love could be safe again. Or it might be the deepest betrayal you never saw coming. They could represent a chapter in your life that was filled with passion, vulnerability, or even chaos. And while you think you're holding on to them, what you're actually holding on to is the you that existed in those moments. The version of you who felt alive, desired, hopeful, or maybe broken, insecure, and desperate for validation. This is why their presence lingers, not because they were irreplaceable, but because your identity became entangled in how they made you feel. You may have heard people say, if you can't stop thinking about them, they must be important. But that's not always true. Obsession isn't always a reflection of significance. It's often a sign of an emotional wound left unhealed. And wounds don't go away just because time passes. They go away when you give them the care, the attention, the understanding they need. Your mind doesn't loop the same thoughts because it enjoys torturing you. It does so because something still feels incomplete, like a puzzle missing just one piece. And in that search for emotional closure, your thoughts return to the source, hoping to find peace. But peace doesn't come from unraveling every detail of the past. It comes from acceptance, from acknowledging that some chapters ended without warning, without explanation, without fairness. And you're allowed to grieve that. You're allowed to miss what you had, what you thought you had, and even what you wish you had. What matters is that in the process, you don't lose sight of your own worth. Because no matter how deeply someone touched your soul, no one deserves to take up permanent residence in your mind, especially when they no longer pour into your spirit. This is where the concept of energetic exchange becomes crucial. Every relationship, romantic, platonic, even brief encounters, involves a transfer of energy. When you connect with someone deeply, you're not just sharing time. You're sharing your essence. And sometimes that energy doesn't fade just because the person walks away. It lingers, especially when the emotions involved were intense. That's why a single memory can flood you with feelings, because the emotional charge hasn't been neutralized. And until you consciously reclaim that energy, they will continue to live in the quiet corners of your mind. Reclaiming your energy isn't about erasing memories or pretending they didn't matter. It's about recognizing that what you shared, however beautiful or painful, doesn't define your present or your future. You begin by honoring your emotions, not judging them. You allow yourself to feel the ache, the longing, the sadness, and then you slowly start to shift. Not by running, not by distracting yourself, but by rebuilding your emotional foundation. Brick by brick, thought by thought, you replace old patterns with new habits. You find joy in moments that are yours alone. You create a space for yourself that isn't haunted by the echoes of someone else. And if you find yourself overthinking, replaying the same conversations, dissecting their words, analyzing every detail, that's a signal, not of your weakness, but of your need for inner clarity. Overthinking is the mind's way of trying to find control in something that already happened. It's your brain's attempt to rewrite the past in hopes of feeling safer. But that search is endless, and it keeps you trapped. Freedom begins the moment you accept that some questions may never be answered, that some people will never explain, and that the lack of closure is in itself the closure. So when their face appears again in your thoughts, take a breath. Don't fight the memory. Instead, meet it with awareness. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Is this about them? Or is this about a part of me that still needs healing? Often, you'll find that what you miss isn't the person. It's the feeling they gave you. And that feeling, that joy, that sense of worth, you can cultivate that within yourself, without needing anyone else to ignite it. Your energy is sacred. Your thoughts are powerful. And your heart is resilient. It's okay to remember, but it's also okay to move forward. Not with bitterness, but with strength. Not with denial, but with peace. Because when you begin to focus on the lessons rather than the loss, on the growth rather than the grief, you shift. You rise. You reclaim your space. Not just in your mind, but in your life. And that's when you know you're healing. Not when they stop showing up in your thoughts, but when their presence no longer has the power to unround you. When the memory passes through you like a breeze, not a storm. When you can smile at what was and still walk boldly into what is. That's the beginning of your emotional freedom. And it all starts with choosing to be present, to be here, to be whole. Sometimes, what hurts the most isn't the absence of someone. It's the conversations that never happened, the closure that never came, the feeling that something important was left dangling in the air, unanswered. This is one of the most overlooked reasons why someone keeps haunting your thoughts. The story between you two never truly ended. It simply stopped. And the human heart is not built to carry loose ends lightly. Your mind replays old memories not to torment you, but to try and make sense of a narrative that never received a proper ending. Think about it. We crave completion. We finish books, we resolve arguments, we say goodbye when we leave a room. But when a relationship ends without resolution, when someone disappears, when a message goes unanswered, when love is withdrawn without explanation, your brain continues the story on its own. It builds fantasies. It imagines alternate endings. It searches endlessly for a satisfying conclusion, even if the only one that exists is silence. That's why even if months or years pass, they can still return to your mind like they never left. Because in your emotional timeline, that chapter was never closed, it was abandoned. And the worst part? Your brain doesn't know how to shut that door on its own. It waits. It hopes. It holds on to imaginary scenarios where you bump into them at a cafe and finally say what you never had the chance to. Where they admit everything, apologize, explain themselves, and make the pain make sense. But most of the time, those moments never come. And instead of moving forward, you find yourself circling the same emotional cul-de-sac, again and again. But here's the truth you need to hear. Closure doesn't always come from them. It often has to come from you. It comes when you stop chasing answers from people who refuse to offer them. It comes when you accept that the lack of explanation is the explanation. When you realize that their silence speaks volumes. Maybe they couldn't handle your truth. Maybe they weren't capable of giving love the way you needed. Or maybe they simply didn't value what you shared enough to honor it with honesty. Whatever the reason, Their inability to end things properly does not have to be your prison. You can close the chapter yourself. You don't need permission. You don't need one last conversation. You need a decision. A decision to stop giving your peace away to someone who won't even give you a second thought. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. You're not erasing the past. You're setting boundaries around your future. You're not denying what happened. You're choosing to stop bleeding for a wound that someone else refused to acknowledge. And sometimes, the person you keep thinking about isn't even the one who hurt you the most. They're simply the one who activated the oldest pain inside you. They triggered something that had been dormant. A fear of abandonment, a craving for validation, a belief that you're not good enough unless someone else says so. That's why forgetting them feels impossible. Because you're not just mourning the loss of them. You're mourning the version of yourself that believed they were the answer to your healing. But healing doesn't come from those who broke you. It comes from within. It begins when you decide to stop outsourcing your worth. When you start recognizing that the person you were when you loved them is still inside you. Strong, sensitive, hopeful, and they deserve your love more than anyone else. That version of you was never weak. They were brave enough to love deeply, and now they deserve to be free. So when the thoughts return, and they will, meet them with compassion. Don't scold yourself for still remembering. Don't shame yourself for still caring. Just gently remind your mind, I know you're trying to protect me. I know you're looking for understanding. But we're safe now. We don't need to keep chasing shadows. We're choosing light. Let those memories rise and fall like waves. Let the ache come and go without judgment. And every time you feel the urge to revisit their world, return instead to your own. Write a journal entry. Speak your truth aloud. Cry if you need to, then breathe and redirect again and again until the habit of pain is replaced with the practice of presence. It's not about forgetting them. It's about remembering yourself. You are not the unfinished story. You are not the unanswered text. You are not the silence they left behind. You are the continuation. You are the next chapter. And it begins the moment you stop waiting for them to validate your experience. Give yourself the ending they never gave you. Say goodbye to the fantasy of closure. Say goodbye to the illusion that they held the key to your peace. Because they don't. You do. You always did. And the moment you realize that, the grip they have on your mind begins to loosen. The fog starts to lift. And you begin to see not just who they were, but who you are without them. You are not broken. You are not stuck. You are evolving. And this pain, this mental loop, this constant remembering, it's not your forever. It's just a passage. A tunnel you're walking through on your way back to yourself. So walk it slowly. Walk it honestly. But most of all, walk it with the unshakable belief that the best parts of your life are still waiting for you. Not in their presence, but in your healing, in your wholeness, in your freedom. It often feels like a betrayal, doesn't it? When your own mind becomes the very place you're trying to escape. You try to be present, try to stay grounded, try to keep your thoughts tethered to reality. But somehow, without warning, your mind slips into that old familiar cycle, bringing them up again. Not because you want it to, not because they deserve that space, but because your brain has been trained, through repetition and emotion, to go back to them over and over like a reflex you didn't consent to. That's the torment of overthinking. The quiet storm inside your head that never seems to rest. And what makes it even more suffocating is that it's not just a thought anymore. It's a habit. A groove your mind falls into like an old track in a worn-out record. You find yourself replaying the same scenes, the same words, the same questions you've already asked 100 times. Why did they do that? What did I do wrong? What if things had gone differently? It becomes less about them and more about how much mental space they've consumed without even being there. But here's the hidden truth. Not every thought that visits you is worth entertaining. Some are echoes of old pain, not current truth. Some are just the remnants of unfinished loops your brain is desperate to solve, even if there's no solution left. That's where the trap of overthinking begins to distort your reality. Suddenly, you're assigning meaning to every gesture they made, decoding every message they once sent, creating new narratives from their silence. And while your mind is busy trying to make sense of the past, your life in the present begins to quietly drift by. And the hardest part? You think you're processing. You think you're working through it. But often what you're really doing is just looping, going in circles, wearing a deeper trench in your memory instead of walking your way out of it. It's not clarity, it's exhaustion. Not healing, it's mental noise. And every time you replay their face, their words, their choices, you hand over your power a little more. But it doesn't have to stay this way. Your thoughts are not chains, they are choices. And just like habits are formed, they can also be unlearned. The first step is awareness. You have to notice the moment your mind starts slipping into their orbit again. Not with judgment, not with shame, but with clarity. Say to yourself, I see what's happening. My mind is trying to go there again. And then, gently but firmly, guide it somewhere else. Redirect it to something that roots you in the now. A task, a breath, a truth about who you are today. Break the pattern not by fighting the thought, but by choosing a different focus. Repetition is the key. The more often you choose not to dwell, the more your brain learns that there are other, healthier routes to follow. Create new mental highways paved with presence, peace, and purpose. Instead of analyzing old texts, write new words that reflect your healing. Instead of imagining what you could have said, speak affirmations that remind you of your worth. Instead of obsessing over what didn't work, invest your energy in building what can still flourish. Because here's a truth no one talks about enough. Sometimes the person you can't stop thinking about isn't your soulmate. They're just the loudest echo of your own unmet needs. And your mind clings to that echo, not because it's meaningful, but because it's familiar. You don't miss them, you miss the feeling of being needed, wanted, loved, understood. That's not weakness, that's humanity. But now, it's time to learn how to give those things to yourself. You have the power to retrain your thoughts, not by force, but by intention. Every time you feed your mind with purpose, with learning, with connection, with self-care, you dilute the power of those old memories. You teach your mind that your peace is more valuable than your past, that your energy belongs in the present, not tangled up in someone who isn't here anymore. And yes, there will be days when the pull feels stronger, when nostalgia whispers sweet lies, when your chest tightens with the weight of what could have been. On those days, remember this: a memory is not prophecy, a thought is not a truth, and their absence does not diminish your worth. Let those thoughts come and go, like waves crashing onto shore. But don't build your home on a beach that's constantly eroding. Choose stability. Choose intention. Choose to build where the ground is solid inside you. Overthinking thrives in silence and solitude. So speak your truth. Journal your pain. Move your body. Engage with your world. Don't wait for your mind to stop thinking about them before you start living again. Start living and your mind will begin to catch up. Rewire it with action, with joy, with curiosity, with compassion. Be patient with yourself, because healing is not a sprint. It's a slow unfurling of all the knots in your mind. You are not crazy for thinking about them, but you are free to stop, free to break the loop, free to shift your focus to the one person who has always been with you. This is your mind, your life, your story. And the chapter where they took center stage has ended. You don't owe them another page. Fill the rest of your book with moments that reflect your strength, your peace, your joy. You're not trying to forget, you're learning to remember who you were before they entered, and who you've become since they left. That version of you deserves the spotlight now. And your mind, once trained to chase ghosts, can be trained to chase light instead. Sometimes, the most haunting memories are not the loudest ones, but the quiet ones. The ones that sit silently in the back of your mind, untouched yet ever present. They don't scream or beg for attention. They just linger. You're brushing your teeth and there it is. You're laughing at a joke with friends, and suddenly it flickers through you like a shadow. The face you tried to forget. The conversation that never ended. The moment that left you changed. These moments creep in not because you're inviting them, but because your heart has not yet fully processed them. There's a strange kind of grief in remembering someone who is still alive, still walking this world, but no longer walking it with you. The absence becomes a presence. Their silence, a noise louder than any words could ever be. It's not just heartbreak. It's a kind of mourning. Mourning a version of yourself that existed only when they were there. Mourning the conversations that never got to happen. The version of the future that now lives only in your imagination. You keep asking why your brain won't let go, why it insists on revisiting the same places where you were once hurt. But your mind is trying to help you in its own twisted way. It's circling the wound, waiting for you to tend to it, not ignore it. And this is where emotional awareness becomes your greatest tool. You cannot fight a thought with resistance alone. You must disarm it with understanding. Every time their memory resurfaces, ask yourself gently, not why am I thinking of them, but what feeling does this memory bring up? Is it loneliness? Is it guilt? Is it regret? Because often, the obsession is not about the person, but about the unprocessed emotion tied to them. Maybe they made you feel worthy in a way no one else did. Or maybe they made you question your value. Either way, they left behind emotional residue, and your mind is simply bringing it back for you to finally clean up. Now, imagine what would happen if, instead of resisting those emotions, you faced them. Not with blame, but with compassion. You sat with your sadness and asked it, "What do you need from me?" You listened to your longing and whispered back, "I hear you, but we're safe now." This is how you break the pattern. Not by erasing the thoughts, but by changing your response to them. Over time, the grip loosens, the urgency fades, and what was once an emotional wildfire becomes a quiet ember, warm, but no longer consuming. But here's another layer most people overlook. Sometimes we stay stuck on someone because we've attached our identity to that connection. You weren't just in love or deeply connected. You built a version of yourself around that relationship. Maybe you were their anchor, their healer, their safe space. Maybe being with them gave your life a sense of purpose. And when they left, they didn't just walk away with memories. They walked away with a version of you that felt whole. That kind of loss is profound. It makes you question who you are without them. Creates a vacuum, a space you don't know how to fill. And so, you cling to the thoughts, the memories, the pain, not because they're comforting, but because they're familiar. Because they remind you of who you were when you didn't feel so lost. But here's the deeper truth. You are not that version of you anymore. You have grown in the silence. You have changed in the waiting. You have become someone who now has the chance to redefine your identity, not around someone else, but around your own becoming. Let that be your motivation. Let that be your reason to gently step back from the obsession and step forward into your own life. Reclaiming yourself after emotional entanglement is not an overnight shift. It is a slow, tender unwinding. It's choosing, day after day, to meet yourself where you are and to nurture the version of you that was buried under someone else's significance. It's about writing new memories, with or without someone by your side. It's about turning your gaze inward and asking, what parts of me did I abandon when I gave everything to that connection? And then going back to rescue them one by one. Start with small acts of devotion to yourself. Make space in your day for joy that doesn't rely on another person. Rebuild your confidence not from validation, but from aligned action. Do the things that make you feel alive, even if they don't erase the pain. Because healing isn't about replacing the thoughts, it's about reducing their power. And the more you fill your world with meaning, the less room those ghosts have to linger. Remember, the mind is a powerful storyteller, and if you let it, it will keep telling you that this person is the beginning, middle, and end of your emotional story. But that's a lie. They were a chapter, maybe even a meaningful one, but not the whole book. The pages ahead are blank, waiting for you to pick up the pen, not with trembling hands, but with grounded resolve. You are not broken because you remember them. You are not weak because they still visit your thoughts. But you are ready now, ready to stop giving them center stage in a life that no longer includes them. Ready to reclaim your identity, your energy, your future. Let their memory be a teacher, not a captor. Let your growth be the proof that you've moved on, not because you forgot, but because you finally remembered who you are. That's the true freedom, when you realize you no longer need the memory to keep you company, because you've become enough for yourself. And that truth is more powerful than anything they ever could have given you. There's something sacred about the moment you decide to stop chasing closure from someone else and instead start giving it to yourself. It doesn't happen in a loud, dramatic gesture. It happens quietly, in a moment of stillness. Maybe when you're walking home alone, or lying in bed after another restless night. You suddenly feel it. The weight of constantly thinking about them, wondering what could have been, starts to feel heavier than the thought of letting go. That's the shift. That's when healing begins, not because you've figured everything out, but because you're finally willing to stop letting them live in your mind for free. And what's even more powerful is that you start to realize their hold on you wasn't about love anymore. It was about habit. It was about the comfort of the pain you've grown used to. It was about the story you kept telling yourself, that you needed answers, that you needed to be remembered, that they needed to come back and fix what was broken. But that story doesn't serve you anymore. It keeps you circling around a version of the past that no longer aligns with the person you're becoming. Your freedom starts when you stop waiting for the message, the apology, the perfect explanation, because maybe it's never coming. And maybe that's not a tragedy. Maybe it's a blessing disguised as silence. Maybe the space they left behind was never meant to be filled by them again, but by you, by your purpose, your passions, your rediscovery of self. You see, the mind clings to people who once made us feel seen. But the truth is, if you still need someone else to validate your worth, you'll keep handing them the keys to your peace. You'll keep spinning in circles, trying to make sense of something that doesn't need to be understood. It needs to be released. Releasing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what you felt wasn't real. It means you've decided your future matters more than the illusion of what could have been. It means you no longer define your worth through the lens of their absence. It means you've chosen yourself, finally, after all the days, months, maybe even years of choosing them in your thoughts, even when they were no longer choosing you in real life. That's not bitterness. That's liberation. And as you step into this new season, one where you no longer let someone's ghost linger in the corners of your mind, something shifts internally. You start building your peace like a home, brick by brick. You start filtering your thoughts through a lens of self-respect. When their name pops into your head now, it doesn't derail you. It becomes just a thought, not a storm. You breathe through it, you let it pass, and then you carry on with your day, rooted in your present, not haunted by your past. You begin to understand what true emotional maturity looks like. It's not about being unaffected, it's about being unshaken. It's not about deleting memories. It's about detaching your identity from them. You are not the